The road was had been surfaced, and so it had a big drop off right here. So she's going along pedaling, and she had this brand new big old 10-speed bike, real heavy thing. So she rolls off the side of it. Now there's no correcting and getting back. You don't want it.
I was coming down the hill.
So she has no choice but to go down the hill. Now, I mean, there are rocks and boulders. I mean, she's anyway trying to make her way down. And I would walk back down on how the bicycle could get down. It couldn't, but she did it by the grace of God. And she'd go up one hill and fall back down. So anyway, she goes all the way down about a couple hundred feet like that now. There's no, it's terrain, tough terrain. And down there, so there's a beach out there right there, sandbar. And there's a picnic table. And some kids and people at the picnic table having a hot dog. And here comes Grandy Jane. And look, she comes straight for him. And by the grace of God, she turns and misses on by 1 inch. And everybody at the table. But that wasn't the end of it. So she goes on out. And she's not stopped yet. There's no brakes on the thing. The brakes got bad. She didn't know what to do. So she's still going. So she goes out into the water now. And then it goes out in the water and it stops. And all of a sudden it goes, doop. And a couple of guys come to rescue her, man. Well, those young kids did,
y'all like that? The guys were fishing on the pier. And they saw what happened with their mouths open. And I was coming down the hill.
Your brakes weren't working.
The brakes were on the handlebars and they did not work.
10 speed,
There were locks. And I just waved at this couple, because they had seen me about sitting in their chairs.
Wave,
And I realized that I actually headed for the water. Because I knew I was going to crash.
Yeah, you knew.
Because the investment
she wasn't heading nowhere she wanted to. They had no choice. Because the guy at the picnic table told me when she came down about 95 miles an hour, nobody knew what to do, so just ran. And by the grace of God, she missed the table about that far. You can see the wheels. I went up there and looked at it. And the bike with the momentum, she couldn't stop it. It went out there and bogged down the sand. And it just stood there a minute and then just fell over slowly. But anyway, so she comes back to the camp. And she's limping and pushing this bicycle all banged up. I said, what in the world happened? And she told me the story. So I went down and confirmed it with the guy. But anyway, and you can see the bike, and we just bought the bike. It wasn't a cheap one either. And I said, look, I'll tell you what, the first kid comes along here, he's going to get this bicycle. I'm giving it to him, but nobody came along. I finally gave it to her sister, and they fixed it.
Brenda got it. But I remember before I hit the water, there was one of those big fire things with cement around it. And I remember seeing the ashes. I went right over it. I went right over the big. The people saw a fire pit. They saw me to go over it. But I was headed for that water because I know it hit sand, and I knew when it hit the sand, it would slow me down. And these teenagers were fishing on the pier. There was a pier out. They jumped out and came running up to see, ma'am, are you okay? Are you okay? I said, I think so.
I think so.
Well, it got deeper though.
Yeah.
You did get deeper.
Oh, I've got a good story to tell your children one day. I got your grandmother heading down the hill.
His sister.